Welcome back, gang. It's Delty from DeltyIsGaming.com. 5 years after its announcement, Path of Exile 2 is coming to early access on December 6, 2024. And in this video, I'm going to give you a rundown of which class you should play and why. You don't want to be that player who selects a Sorceress just to realize they are too squishy 100 hours in, and you should have gone with your gut, a Meathead Warrior. Let's get started with some basics on Path of Exile 2, then a deep dive into each class, who should play it, who should avoid it, pros and cons. Timestamps are below if you wish to skip ahead, and hit that thumbs up if you got something out of this video. Some basics about Path of Exile 2. It's going to be in early access, and the game is going to feature 6 classes at the start and 12 in total on full release. There's over 50 hours of content here, 3 new acts for the fresh campaign, 6 for the full game, each containing a boss fight at every act. Along the way, players will discover some familiar locations as well as plenty of new ones. You don't need to play the original Path of Exile to understand what's happening in the sequel though. Unlike its predecessor, Path of Exile 2 will exclusively be available on the current generation platforms as well as PC and Mac, and there are currently no plans to bring Path of Exile 2 to Nintendo Switch, at least for now. One improvement from Path of Exile 2 is introducing cross-platform play and cross-progression. No matter which system you're on, you'll be able to play through Path of Exile 2 with up to 5 other players in your party, total of 6. Even if you're on PC and your friends are on PS5, you can easily party up with them in-game as long as they're on your in-game friends list. There's also full cross-progression support, allowing you to access your account regardless of what system you're on. This is going to lead to a huge, massive population playing this game, considering when it launches, it will be free to play. You're going to encounter challenging monsters, hidden rooms, lost camps, and treasures, and a lot of loot in Path of Exile 2, but first you need to pick a class, and that's what I'm here to answer. So classes are the most important decision you're going to have to make to start playing Path of Exile 2. It's going to determine your playstyle, your starting weapon, ease of leveling, and how you clear the map and tackle the hardest bosses in the game. Classes in Path of Exile 2 work a little differently than your average ARPG. Any class can use any skill or weapon in the game. There is no real lock in the game that stops you from doing that. It is entirely possible to create a warrior that casts spells, so you might end up confused and frustrated if you're playing for the first time. One of the strengths and or weaknesses of Path of Exile 2 is that it's an extraordinarily complex game with tons and tons of systems and options to choose from. There's also a concept of ascendancy, which can be a little tricky for people who are new to the game with its almost sheer galaxy level of skills and trees. The early access will initially have 6 classes available, 4 of them being brand new to the series. Each class will have 2 ascendancies. These are subclasses for each and every class. While classes determine your general play style, ascensions define your character's specialization. Classes available at early access launch are the Ranger, Witch, Warrior, Monk, Sorceress, and Mercenary. Each will have a specialty. For example, one of the new classes, the Sorceress, is an intelligence-based class that specializes in elemental destruction. She wields a staff to inflict fire, ice, and lightning damage against enemies. While they follow a lot of the original game's formula, there are key differences between POE 1 and POE 2 for classes. The full version of POE 2 will have 12 classes, while POE 1 had 7. The new classes in POE 2 are designed to use the new mechanics like different animations depending on the speed of your class and weapon types. POE 2 has hundreds of skill gems and support gems that can be combined to create a build. Each skill can be modified up to 5 support gems, and all classes in Path of Exile 2 require you to wield a variety of skills to mix and match different combos to get the max out of your class and or skills. So the new skill system, you will first need to find skill gems. Using skill gems will open the gem cutting menu, which allows you to activate skills available in Path of Exile 2. You can choose from existing skills to level up or choose to engrave new ones. So a lot of customization and build crafting. If you love that sort of thing, you are going to love playing Path of Exile 2. But let's jump into the classes specifically, starting with the Ranger. The Ranger is all about the bow and agility. If you like to move fast and deal damage to your enemies, this class is for you. Since you can shoot while moving in Path of Exile 2, the Ranger offers a lot of mobility in combat when combined with a lot of her bow skills have built-in jumps to be able to easily outmaneuver your enemies. With 21 bow skills, she has a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks. Lightning attacks bounce around between targets. You can use stick lightning arrows in the ground which explode when hit by the bounces or electrocuting enemies to take them out. Ice attacks allow you to freeze and slow enemies to keep them away from you. Combined with the vaulting skills of the Ranger, you can jump over monsters and freeze them, making it easy to evade enemy attacks by stunning them or keeping them at distance. You can use your poison skills to generate highly flammable clouds of gas and then deal even more damage over time. There's also something interesting about the poison skills, and you can grow plants. The 2 Ranger Ascendancies you'll have access to in early access are Deadeye and Pathfinder. The Deadeye is an expert marksman who takes down her enemies with style. She can fire additional projectiles, making it easy for you to completely overwhelm your opponent with a swarm of arrows. The major perk of the Deadeye is Gathering Wind that increases your speed, but you need to be careful while doing it because if you take damage, you'll lose a speed boost. Eagle Eye is a huge perk for the Deadeye subclass that makes you invisible, as you do not have to worry about accuracy since you never miss once you activate this perk. The Pathfinder focuses on flask and poisons. Throwing is the name of the game with this subclass. There will be 5 throwable concoctions that are fueled by flask charges. Each concoction will deal some damage, but it also deals a crippling element to the enemy that are caught in the splash zone. You can get poison to spread between different enemies, making them twice as potent. On top of that, Pathfinders have more mobility. They can even move more quickly while firing and become immune to slowing effects. This Ascension class gets access to certain type of throwable attacks that use charges from a player's health flask to inflict various effects such as bleeds and poisons. Your health flask is essentially your potion. However, you can drink from it multiple times, kind of like Black Myth Wukong, so it's interesting mechanics. A returning class from the first game, the Ranger offers a lot of versatility. You are able to specialize in both close and long range combat and utilize elemental infused arrows and powerful earth-based abilities, such as vines and plants and poisons to root enemies in their spot. You can also backflip out of sticky situations and ride cool mounts. So people that love using pew pew and want a little bit mobility when they're firing, this is the class for you. By endgame, you're going to be creating hundreds of arrows falling from the sky, bouncing around and just killing critters. Moving on to the Witch class. Returning to the Path of Exile 2, the Witch specializes in summoning and chaos spells, using wands to cast powerful spells that cause diseases to spread. Just imagine yourself as some necromancer summoning a gazillion little minions to follow you, specifically skeletons, and this is the Witch. Occult skills are some of the most varied in the game, with skeletons, noxious spells, specialty minions, curses, and sacrificial magic. The minions you summon will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about babysitting them constantly all the time and resummoning them, which is a hassle with these type of classes. You can either go with some weaker skeletons like warriors because they're cheap and weak, and they're used for distractions and tanking, or you can unsummon some of the weaker ones and add more powerful skeletons to your arsenal. There are 2 types of minions, permanent and temporary minions. You can use the corpses to create temporary minions. Permanent minions come with special active abilities called command skills. For example, a skeleton arsonist can detonate your other minions for even more damage and AoE effects. If you want a big army, you're going to need a scepter. This new weapon type allows you to summon even more minions. While your minions do the dirty work, you'll want to use chaos spells to spread disease among your enemies or bone skills to impale them. You could also curse them to make them weaker so your horde can take him down easy. The Witch can ascend into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage. If you ascend into the Infernalist subclass, you'll be able to summon a loyal Hellhound companion. The Hellhound sets enemies on fire as well as protecting you, taking % of the damage when you get hit. Major perks include Pyromantic Pact. With this, you turn your mana into Infernal Flame. As you cast more spells, the flame builds up, but if it overflows, you'll take damage. Essentially a high risk, high reward type of playstyle. A useful perk is Bringer of the Flames. While your Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage for you and your minions will ignite enemies. You can also transform into literal demons. With the demon form, you'll take increased amount of damage, but your cast speed and damage increase rapidly as well. Again, this is a very obvious high risk, high reward, tons of damage, but you might be deady spaghetti, so be aware. The Witch's other ascendancy option is the Blood Mage. All Blood Mages must pay the price for making skills cost life as well as mana, meaning the Blood Mage will use life instead of mana to pay part of the skill cost, but in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly gain back that life. With Crimson Power, she can gain large amounts of extra life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech back life as well. Once you've got a significant amount of life, you could use Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage. With 25 occultist skills, you'll be the leader of a fearsome army of dead consuming everything in your path. So 2 different options here for the Witch: high risk, high reward, or a life siphoning necro. Next up is the Warrior. The Warrior is a strength-based class for those that like tanking and methodical melee combat, or meatheads like me with low IQ. Just kidding, not really. He slams the ground with big, chunky attacks with oversized weapons. And the interesting mechanic about this is the attacks take a longer animation, but you can kind of turn them, point, and aim them as part of the new animations in combat in Path of of Exile 2. You can also use War Cry to boost his skills in between attacks. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slam for your next attack. You can run through enemies with a skill called Stampede to do huge amounts of damage. The Stampede counts as a slam, so you can double that for even more craziness. Slams are not the only melee attack, they also have AoE effects. You can slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire. But the downside of hitting so hard is that you don't get attacks very often. The trick here is to build the damage by using Warcry to empower your skills and then go for big damage with long animations and windups. The warrior also has access to totems. Totems have built-in abilities like Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks, like those from Earthquake. But you can also get Ancestral Warrior Totems, which allow you to use any other slam skill in your repertoire, meaning it's a skill you can put other skills into. You can take slam like Sunder and socket it into Ancestral Warrior Totem. Now, when you summon him, he will sit there and slam the monsters from the distance. And this is how you customize your build and your warrior, specifically very early. Another interesting mechanic about the warrior is you can charge in the direction as well as blocking all incoming damage coming towards you from the front. However, holding up your shield will cause the stun mirror to build as you take damage, so be careful. Once it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable. Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by a red flash, so if you see one of them coming, make sure to dodge out of the way. Using a shield also gives you access to shield skills like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemy and stun them. While charging, you're also blocking the whole time, so you'll have full damage immunity from the front. The warriors have two paths for ascension, either the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer channels the might of the ancestors to gain tremendous power. The Warbringer will also be able to transform your totems into spirits, giving them way more freedom to attack your enemies. Using the Answered Call, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to your totem. With Jade Heritage, you can encase your body in a protective layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks. The Warcaller's Bellow ability allows you to explode the corpses of enemies. With the Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldown on your war cries. The other ascendancy is Titan. Do justice to its name by being all about heavy hitting. Titans have the ability to create aftershock with every slam with Earthbreaker, turning you into a very powerful AoE stun machine. With surprising strength, you can take advantage of stunning enemies to deal 40% more damage. He'll be able to protect himself by being more aggressive, crushing enemies, stunning them, and then doing more damage. There are so many things you can do with the warrior with 20 active skills for maces. So warriors are your tanky, high survivability, long animations with really good AoE and gap closing skills, but lacking the range. Next up is the Sorceress, and this is one of the brand new classes in Path of Exile 2. If you like to weave huge fireballs, icy explosions, lightning storms, and flashy animations on the screen, this class is obviously for you, your typical spellcaster. You can set your enemies on fire with Wall of Fire, throw fireballs, freeze your enemies in place by dropping comets on them, or fill the screen with massive lightning going everywhere. Each spell is unique and has different ways to build in combo with others, even different elements. For example, you can use Flame Wall to conjure a burning line in front of you that not only deals damage to enemies, but also empowers projectiles that pass through it. So if you place your Flame Wall and then fire off lightning sparks, it will pass through it and gain extra fire damage. Path of Exile 2 allows you to automatically swap weapons, so it'll be a good idea to use that gameplay mechanic when you use certain skills. Meaning, you might have a special staff with a bonus to fire and another staff with a bonus to lightning. So you can use those to really power up your combos and make the game automatically swap for you. The Sorceress can also take advantage of the powerful trigger gem. For example, you can grab the Cast on Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a Firestorm will automatically be cast at the enemies that were ignited. The two ascendancies for the Sorceress are Stormweaver and Chronomancer. Stormweavers use the Tempest Caller to cause elemental storms to be summoned each time you do critical hit with the spell. Using Strike twice, they can also stack 2 copies of Shock for even more damage. If you venture deeper into the tree, you can make all your damage types apply Shock. Then you can make a Shock build from any skill. Alternatively, you could become a Chronomancer and command time itself. Chronomancer has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze. If you go down this path, you can use Temporal Rift to reverse time and travel back to the previous location. Very useful when resetting life and mana back to where it was. You can also reset all global cooldowns and cast your spells again using lightning time snap. With over 25 elemental skills, you can really do overpowerful builds with the Sorceress, with the ability to fire off projectiles left, right, and rain down elements on your foes. However, this class is probably going to be very squishy, so you're going to have to play with high damage, low survivability. If that's attractive to you, you'll love this class. Next up is the Mercenary. This is the class designed for people who play a mix of strength and dexterity builds. The Mercenary wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different types of ammo, offering versatility, power, and mobility. But don't be fooled, the crossbow basically acts like an assault gun, shotgun, or a sniper depending on the ammo that you use. Path of Exile 2 has incorporated WASD control scheme, which makes this class play like a shooter. They also have grenades to help with crowd control. But not only that, there are a wide variety of more interesting elemental ammos and crossbow enchantments too. The Mercenary can switch between ammo types very fast, so as long as you already have them loaded, you can combo them together for devastating effects. You can use a glacial bolt to create a wall of ice to separate enemies, and then switch to fragmentation rounds to explode the ice for massive AoE. Additionally, you could use armor-piercing rounds against armor targets to break it, and then combine with high-velocity rounds to take them down. You could also fire a gas grenade to poison enemies, and then detonating that cloud with explosive shot for massive AoE. But that's not all. They can summon artillery ballistae to call in some suppressing fire. This ballista are limited by the minimum range, so you'll want to be prepared in position appropriately. With the Mercenary class, you'll have two paths to Ascendancy, the Witch Hunter and the Gemling or Legionary. Witch Hunters have access to a sorcery wand when they use Obsessive Ritual. This ward will protect you against elements hits in exchange for less defense against attacks. You also have the ability to make your enemies explode to death. However, there is only a 10% chance of this happening. But do not fear, you can double that chance against demons and undeads. So when you're hunting powerful bosses, you may want to use Judge, Jury, and Executioner. This will cause your initial hit against enemies to deal up to 30% of their life in damage if you're lucky. Additionally, Witchbane you can use to break your enemy's concentration, preventing them from casting spells as often as they usually do. You could also go down the path to become the Legionary, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems directly into your flesh. This subclass focuses heavily on skill gems. You also get extra maximum resistance as you socket more and more support gems. Adaptive capability allows you to use any color of gem without worrying about attributes, while crystalline potential adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socket in your character. With 22 active skills for crossbows, by endgame you will be calling down destruction. You will like this class if you want something different that plays similar to a shooter, having you move around, wield different ammo types, and love the look and sound of a gun, not really a crossbow. Next up is the last class in early access, and that's the Monk. If you want fast melee build, this class is for you. The Monk specializes in both dexterity and intelligence, combining spells with melee attacks to create a unique build. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. The Monk primary uses the quarterstaff. There are 3 schools of martial attacks: lightning, ice, and wind, and the best part is you don't have to just stick to one. Instead, the game encourages you to mix elements of all 3 to get the best combos. Skills like Killing Palm allows the Monk to quickly take advantage of a specific situation. If there's an enemy on low life, you can use Killing Path to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will grant you a power charge. Then you can use a different skill to consume this power charge for a much more devastating attack. The Monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonant bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to enemies around you. You can also do things like freeze or shock the bell, which add elemental damage to the strikes. The Monk also has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles. The 2 ascendancies for the Monk are Invoker and Acolyte of a name I can't pronounce. Invoker is suitable for those who want to tune into their elements, especially with skills like elemental expression. The Invoker will create waves of elemental powers each time he does a critical strike. Faith is a choice. You'll get an ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield, giving a high bonus to your defenses. You may also choose between I Am the Blizzard or I Am the Thunder to specialize in cold and lightning damage. There is also And I Shall Rage, which allows you to turn into Unbound Avatar. You also have the option to choose the dark side with the Acolyte Ascendancy. They can exchange their mastery for Spirits of Darkness, a resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal damage. The Shroud of Darkness skill will protect you from all incoming damage, but if you take Grasp of the Void, you deal extra chaos damage for all the darkness you have. It also applies to their energy shields as well. There are 21 active skills skills for quarterstaff, you basically have endless options for creating a unique monk build. If you want the monk, you're going to want a combination of playing in melee range with a quarterstaff, but also having the ability to cast spells. So that gets us to the final point here, which is the right class for you. The Ranger is a perfect playstyle for whoever wants to enjoy fast hit and run and thrive on constant movement in combat. Her complexity with elemental combos and flask management makes her especially rewarding for experienced players who value agility and strategic depth. The Witch is ideal for players who enjoy commanding armies and using strategic, debilitating based magic. Her straightforward minion mechanic makes her accessible to beginners, while her complex spells, curses, and high-risk ascendancies offers depth and challenge for experienced players. The Warrior is well suited for players who enjoy tank, charging in Rambo style and doing AoE damage. Beginners can benefit from his durability and straightforward skill mechanics, while experienced players will appreciate the depth offered by totems, shield skills, and advanced war cries. But his reliance on charging and positioning makes him less forgiving for players unaccustomed to methodical melee gameplay. The Sorceress is ideal for players who love playing powerful spellcasters and enjoy setting up complex elemental combos from a distance. She is especially suited for experienced players who can handle her complex mechanics, including managing weapon swapping and triggering gem synergies. While beginners can certainly enjoy her for the spectacle of elemental powers, her advanced skill interactions and need for precise timing make her more rewarding for those with a good understanding of ARPGs. The Mercenary is perfect for experienced players who are adept at managing multiple abilities, ammo types, and quick reflexes will find the Mercenary especially rewarding. This class may be challenging for beginners due to its complex mechanics requiring careful positioning and precise timing. However, players who enjoy customizing their skills and dealing massive damage from a distance will likely enjoy the Mercenary. The Monk is ideal for players who enjoy fast-paced, combo-heavy melee combat mixed with spellcast. Players who thrive on quick reflexes and versatility in combat, and who are comfortable managing multiple elements and abilities at once will find the Monk very rewarding. So if you're new to Path of Exile 2, a RPG, you may want to start your early access playthrough with a Warrior or even a Ranger. However, the best thing about Path of Exile series is that there is no best class and/or skills. You do whatever you want with hundreds, if not thousands, or hundreds of thousands of combinations and customizations in your build. So experiment, have fun, and enjoy the game. If you learned something from this video, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe, like, and share a comment about your favorite class, and we'll see you next video. Thanks for watching.